Welcome to episode 116 of the Oklahoma Real Estate Show. On today's show, it's CEO and founder of Taber Homes, Taber LeBlanc, with over 2 decades in Oklahoma building homes. Proud to have him on the show today talking about his story and about kind of the history a little bit of Taber and then what he's offering today in excellent homes here. Welcome to the show.
Excited to be here.
So run me back. I mean, how did this all get started? I mean, you weren't born a home builder, right?
I was not. I didn't grow up in the family. My dad and my stepdad were geologists, and so I saw the ups and downs of that industry and did not want any part of that. Wow. And so I graduated from Oklahoma State in May of '99, right after the tornado hit there and more. Wow. Ended up getting a claims adjusting job where I went out and did property insurance claims from looking at roofs to water leaks to fire damage. And real early on into that, I knew that is not my career path. And so my father-in-law had been a builder and developer, and primarily a developer late in his career. And so I'd been begging him to try and help me get into the industry. And he kept giving me runarounds. Finally, he says, I got 5 daughters. I'm going to have 5 son-in-laws. I don't want to teach you all how to build. So if I help you, I'm going to have to help all of them. And so I knew that at that time, this was not going to be my path. And so I started interviewing for jobs and ended up finding one medical sales job down in Dallas. And at that time, they basically said you have to move somewhere where there's a larger airport. You can't stay in Oklahoma City. And so I drove my company car down there, which I wasn't supposed to do, put a $500 deposit with a hot check because I didn't have $500 to my name back then, and we were moving to Dallas. And so my mother-in-law and my wife and I share an anniversary, and we'd go out for anniversary dinner. And I'm telling my father-in-law all about this job that I'm so proud of because I remember sitting in college thinking, if I could make $10,000 a month, my life is made. And this job was going to give me an opportunity to do way more than that. And so I'm telling him about this job, and he keeps giving me pushback. And I'm thinking, like, he should be like extremely proud. And so anyway, the girls went to the bathroom, and he basically came out and says, I got 5 lots with your name on it, and got a credit line set up for you to build houses. He goes, you can go do this job. Sounds like a great opportunity, or you can come try this out. And through conversation that night, he says, but one of the things is you can't quit your job. You got to support my daughter. The other thing that you need to know, and this first business advice he gave me, was you got to have money to get money. So you need to save all the money that you make through this building company. And so I remember driving home down I-35. We were living right across the street from Edmond Memorial High School in terrible apartments. And I was asking my wife, what do you want me to do? What do you think I should do? And she's like, this is your decision. I can't help you on it. I'm not. And so I had a plane flight going to California for training with this other company. So I hadn't quit my job yet. And I mean, this is all within a matter of days. And so I remember calling up that company. I was scared to do it and just said, I'm not taking the job. And they're like, well, you already got a plane ticket. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm not doing it. And so that was the beginning of it, basically. And so I remember sitting around one day, and my father-in-law, John, was like, hey, what are you going to name the company? I was like, I don't know. He's like, well, you got a cool name. Why not Homes by Taber? And that's basically how the company was born. And so early on, I knew my father-in-law was basically my mother-in-law made him help me because she didn't want her daughter to move. And so I tried to not bug John as much as possible. And so one of the things he told me is like, how you learn about this is you got to be on site. And so I knew nothing. I'd roofed houses in high school, but really had no experience in construction or business. I had a business management degree, but you learn a whole lot more hands-on than you do in college. And so I remember starting off, and John's like, well, what house is you going to build? said, I don't know. And he goes, go down to Bob Fillmore's office. It's a plan office here in town. And he goes, go pick out 3 plans. And so I ended up seeing the house that I was living in. So we'd end up buying a house. Found the house that I was living in was one of my first 3 houses. And so I remember early on when subs would ask me a question, I'd drive home and go look at my house and act like I knew the answer. And so I tried to not have John come out to the job site because, that took time. So I tried to keep my phone calls, keep it to phone calls as much as possible. But I had him come out to the job site twice. But so after I get the first 3 plans picked out, he says, well, how much you gonna charge for them? I said, well, I don't know. He's like, well, drive around and see what people are charging for stuff. And I was like, all right. So I did that, and I told him what I was gonna charge for the houses. And so then to get a bank loan, the banker says, hey, you need to get me a cost estimate. So I asked John, how do I do a cost estimate? And he says, give me a second. And then he faxes me over a cost estimate from a banker. And he said, change the numbers on here. So I go in there and I just changed the lot price, and then I just fudged the numbers in there and sent it over. And so then I asked John, well, who do I hire? He goes, remember those houses you went out to? He goes, go talk to those people and see who they're using. And so now I'm getting a little bit worried. And so like, wow, like I'm going into this thing blind. And so I ended up finding the subs, and he knew some, but I remember being at lunch with him one time, and I'm like, so where do I start? And he grabs out a napkin and he writes down the order to build the house in. And
wow,
that's kind of how it started. I mean, going in blind, not knowing for sure what stuff's going to cost or anything like that. Luckily, I sold the houses myself, and it's probably I would have made very little profit if I didn't sell them myself. And so, that's kind of the beginning. Was like I remember getting into it, thinking, "Oh man, I don't have $300,000 to pay back to the bank. I hope this works out." And so, but the best thing is that my father-in-law was always there for me, but I learned by being on site. I learned by just asking stupid questions to these trades and trying to be out there. And so I would go work in the morning at my other job as the insurance adjuster. Then I'd go work. Then I'd try to be out on the job site in the afternoon, and then I'd go back and work at night as well.
Wow. So give me time frame. We're at like 2000.
This is 2000.
Wow.
Yeah, we started in June of 2000, and really gets into 2001 because we formed the company in June of 2000, started building late of 2000. And so then those first 5 lots that he had reserved for me, we went through them that first year.
Wow. So the start was 5 lots, and now your average development has how many lots?
Well, the rule of thumb is we used to keep about 50 to 60, and then we were going through those so quick the last few years, we started moving them up to 100, and then we were talking about moving them up to 200.
Wow.
But right now we're trying to now we're going back to normal levels of, we'll call it 60 to 80 lots.
Sure. So roughly 10x what you started.
Right.
It's amazing. So run me through, so 2000 runs into 2005, right? Then we get into maybe the subprime issue. How did you make it through that?
Well, luckily, my father-in-law gave me that first piece of advice. You got to have money to get money. And so living very conservatively and not having a lot of overhead or personal overhead expenses. And so I'd worked that farmer's job for another 3 years. By the time I quit, we had 25 houses going with 2 employees. And so I made sure, I stayed there longer than I probably should have, but I had insurance and benefits and all that kind of stuff, and so I saved up as much money as I possibly could, and that's what capital's allowed our company to grow over the years.
Yeah, it gives you that nice buffer. So running through from that point on, what are kind of some major milestones you remember?
Major milestones was, going from the beginning when I ran out of those lots. My father-in-law had a neighborhood that was pretty successful on some acre lots in Deer Creek. And I remember we went to those other builders and said that I was coming in, and they were pissed off. And I understand it from their standpoint. But anyways, he got me into another development. Mm-hmm. And then there was a neighborhood he called it Taber Lane, so he named it Taber Lane, which was kind of I'd call and order stuff and like, hey, this is Taber, I need to get this delivered to Taber Lane, and kind of like they probably thought I had this big ego naming the street after myself, and he was just doing it for fun, or for a favor, But so that neighborhood was supposed to or had 15 or 16 lots in it, so it was just a little infill area. And there was supposed to be another builder in there, so I was about to get half the lots. And so it ended up, the other builder didn't buy them, and so I got those 16 lots, and all of a sudden I build that through that whole thing in 1 year. And so John had another neighborhood, and so that was kind of a bigger milestone for me, from going 5, and then now I'm in 2 different neighborhoods. And then John had
and you're on site. I mean, day to day, you were there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I was able to work at home when I was with my insurance adjusting job. But I ended up, we had young kids, and so I ended up getting my own office just where I could work and not be distracted as well. And so then after that, there was a neighborhood called Miller's Gate in Yukon, and so I went into that neighborhood, and we struggled a little bit at the beginning, but what I noticed with the 2 other builders is as we started picking up momentum, we were taken down, like, by the second phase, we took down like half the lots. The third phase, I'm running out of lots, and so I worked out a deal with John on the last phase to where I said, I'll pay you $3,000 more a lot if I can get all the lots. And the last phase of a development, you don't have as much cost in it because you've already paid off the land, the infrastructure's already there and everything. And so his partners wanted all cash, and so he ended up buying his partners out and taking the extra gravy on the lots. And so he made some money on it, but he really did it for me. So that's pretty cool. And so from there, we went in that neighborhood, Southerly Farms. I ended up doing a similar deal and buying out all the lots and kicking all the competition out. And so those were some big milestones. And that stuff was happening pre-pandemic, or not pandemic, pre-housing bubble. And so the housing bubble hits, and it was bad. I remember I went to Rob Stanley and got 3 $10,000 cars, and so these were brand new cars, but there was nothing in them. And I put them in front of 3 of my model homes, and I put free car. And so I remember 90 days later, Rob calls me. He's like, "Hey, you haven't sold one car." I was like, "Yeah, I haven't sold one house." And so things got pretty bad, but I was pretty fortunate that we built out this duplex neighborhood, or we were building a duplex neighborhood during that time. And we were able to get, it had somewhere around 80 doors or 40 duplexes. And so we had like half of them sold and started, and then we got half of that half to close during that time. So we did get cash flow in, and then I was able to sell the other lots to another builder, and that gave me cash flow as well. And so for those it was 2 years of rough times, and everybody calls it like 2008. To me, we rolled over 45 finished homes into 2006. So starting 2006, so that's where I'm talking about the free car was in 2006. Everybody else talks about 7 and 8. And so, so that duplex neighborhood is what gave me enough cash flow whenever the home building company was losing money to get through. And again, we had cash, but yeah, it was a tough time. I mean, the news was just beating us up as well. There was no good coming from it. In 2009, I got my builder confidence back. And so Oklahoma City at that time had a huge oversupply of lots. And so I started getting my builder confidence back, but we couldn't, banks weren't lending. So you got to think
they were nervous. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Sure.
they hear everything nationwide, where I feel Oklahoma City has turned the corner because, we've diversified from oil, and we've continued to diversify from oil from the 80s. But back then, oil was doing well. And so I felt our economy was doing well. And so from there, so we were building right around 100 houses going into the housing bubble, and it came down to about in half. And so from there, we're plugging along. And then in 2009, I get my confidence back. And so nobody's lending. So I I don't know why I had a phone book, but I had a phone book, and I just started calling every number, every bank, and trying to set up appointments. Went and bought some suits and ties and was dressing nice, trying to impress these bankers, trying to get money. And so after being told no over and over and over again, we finally got some yeses. And so we started growing our company, getting capital from the banks, and growing our company from 2009 up to 2014, where we got up to around 250 houses. So
wow.
Going from 50 to 250 houses during that time frame. And then oil crash of 2014, our sales went down about 30%.
Wow.
And during that time, we were going through a lot of growing pains. So going from 50 to 250 houses, I can tell you at that point in time, we did what we said we were going to do eventually, is the easiest way to put it. And so our warranty after the fact took a long time to do. And so I got to a point where I really, where I could see, I couldn't have my hands on everything. And so I was like, I got great assets, this is what's going on in my head. And it's like, do I need to shrink this company down to 100 houses where I can control everything? Or I got these great assets where I can grow this company even further. But it's risky too. And so I contemplated with that, and in January of 2014 was basically our company was reborn. And I came in and with my managers that were there, I had some quit and just basically said, we're changing and we're going to do it my way. And so soon after that, I met a consultant named Noelle Tarabolski here in town at a conference. And she had this conference about the top 20 things builders do wrong. And I'm sitting in there with a whole bunch of builders. And I remember I feel like she's talking to me. Yes. 1, 2, yeah, we do all that wrong. And so I remember sitting after, and I let all the builders leave. I remember going to the bathroom and then make sure everybody's gone, and then I go talk to her, and end up hiring her on the site to come in to work with our company. So I'm going through this restructure, and so I end up hiring her to come in, and I went all in on it to build these departments. And so she was coming in every other week for 4 days a week, and she helped me build every department that we have, and we built it with younger people that are technology driven, and I built these departments with her and with the manager, and they were able to see my values and how I do things. And so it's been pretty cool to see these managers where I used to say, I know more than my managers do, to now my managers can run circles around me.
Wow. And that was a divine meeting you felt with her. I mean,
yeah.
Here you are to a conference, and then it's a life-changing conference.
It was, for sure. We all as a management team became very educated. Before, I used to say, well, I learned from my mistakes, and now being preemptive on doing that. And so, because over the years we've messed up everything and learned from it as well. Mm-hmm. But now, instead of just waiting for that stuff to happen, I have these different professionals in each one of their departments that know their stuff inside and out.
What would you say was the biggest learning factors you got when this, 2014, you said you were reborn. What do you mean by that?
Well, from there, it was, like I said, it got out of control. You can grow yourself out of business, and you can also grow outside of your managers, like their capabilities. And so we had both of those things happen. And so the people that I had underneath me that had been with me for a long time, we basically outgrew them. And so from there,
you mean their mindset was a small operation. They just were hitting the ceiling. They couldn't handle any more.
Yeah,
volume.
For whatever reason it might have been, they were not able to do what they were hired to do.
Wow.
And that's why, as the business owner, like I said, I had to look at going back to saying, I know what I can do and be profitable and make money at, or but there's so much more potential that we have. And so
what was that critical moment where you decided, I'm gonna cut the losses and I'm gonna move forward? How did that come about?
What happened is, so 2012 is really, so we got up to 225 houses, 250 houses, round figures then, and that's where the wheels started spinning or coming off. I wish they were spinning, but and so throughout 2013, I got involved, and I'm trying to work with these people, or my people, or our company's people, to try and fix these things. And so throughout that whole year, it's like I'm just still banging my head against the wall. And we're continuing to make mistakes that we'd make over and over again. One of the things I tell my managers, like, the first time we make a mistake, and no matter what it costs, and we've had some very, very costly ones, that one's on me. That's just part of owning a business. But your job is to make sure it never happens again.
Bingo. Learn from it. Sure.
Yeah, but that's not what was happening back then.
Wow.
And it was taking us a long time to build houses. So time frames. We started missing closing dates. And then we'd say, all right.
Which is really tough for everybody.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
that's one of our number one things we don't do is miss close dates. But we were missing closing dates, and there was times that we pushed closing dates back 3 times. I mean, it's extremely embarrassing and very tough for the customer. And so, anyways, trying to fix that stuff was not working all through 2013 with my people. And that's why at the end of the year, it's kind of like, I'm going into a new year. I don't want to be doing this. What we're doing is not working with the people that I have right now. And so we ended up, like I said, that's where the restructure came. And like you said, God came in, I think, and put me in with Noel. And
sure. That was a divine appointment. And at that point, you said, this is the way I'm going to get there. Like, this is the roadmap.
Right.
I can follow this now. Wow, that's incredible. I mean, and then I think for all the business owners that may be listening to this, you're going, they're at that point. I know I've been to that point many, many times where you either settle for what you got, thinking this is the best we're ever going to get, or like you said, you take that risk.
Right.
And you say, I know it can get better. I don't know for certain, but if I don't try, it won't get better. And you tried.
Right.
And that resulted in, now take us to 2015. What happened then?
All right, so 2015 is when oil hits, goes way down. Our sales went down 30%, but I continued to go all in on this restructure, paying big money for Noel to come in every other week. Didn't lay off any employees, even though, because I felt that we needed to build that foundation, and we can't do it on scaling back with employees. So we kept all our employees at that time.
Did you know oil? Did you have any inkling that oil was going to come back, or you just were gut? You just stuck it in? With...
So she came in and did an assessment of our company, and then she came back in, and I just like, all right, I got the assessment, read through it, agree with it. I'm like, well. All right.
Just have faith in it and move forward.
Yeah, and I just said, I want to get you in as much as possible.
So her assessment was, there's a lot of vertical here. If we do these steps, here's what we can achieve. And you said,
Well, yeah,
go forward?
The assessment was just stuff that we can improve on. And my whole deal is I'm restructuring. I need help restructuring. And what that ended up being was, we went from having basically 5 managers to where we have, 10 or 11 right now.
Wow.
And really just breaking that stuff, breaking down each department and getting one person in control of it that runs that department instead of somebody running multiple departments.
And tell me when the slogan kind of came in. I mean, proudly overbuilt. Everybody knows that's Taber now. I mean, everybody in Oklahoma. If you don't know that, I mean, you're not in Oklahoma. When did that come on the scene?
That came on. We hired a consultant, a sales and marketing consultant, Myers Barnes, and he and we did the same thing with him as well. But one of the things is just like. He's the one who gave me the term. He's like, you guys are proudly overbuilt. And we took that and we copywrote it and so on and so forth, where that's our term.
Yeah, sure. So what does that mean now? I mean, what does that mean to you?
Well, so before we used to be elegance with affordability. And so when I started building houses, one of the things is when my first houses were like $115,000. But I'm driving a farmer's insurance car with the logo on the side of it, trying to sell the houses myself. I'm 23 years old, and it's like, why is somebody going to buy from this young kid? And so one of the things I'd sell is like, you get to talk to me direct, and we have people that you can talk to 24 hours. Because what if I'm out fishing or at the lake or whatever it might be? But anyways, and so I had to differentiate myself from these other builders in the neighborhood that have been building for 20 plus years, and so. What my goal was back then was to take items in a $250,000 house and put them into a $100,000 house. And so that was
so how do you do that?
And so that was my strategy back then, is to give myself a competitive advantage, especially with the obstacles that were against me. And so how you did it, you put better amenities in. And so we've always toppled onto that. And one of my theories that I have is like, if I put in X, whatever, if I put in this, how many more houses will I sell? Not how much is it going to cost me per house, but if I can put that in for free or included for the customer, how many more houses can I sell? And look at the revenues that way on this new amenity. And so it started off that way, and we've grown it into what it is now.
Wow. So between 2015 and today, what were some key milestones now that you had the new mindset and you were full throttle forward? And
so we went from 160 houses or so in 2015 to where we pulled somewhere around 900 permits last year, sold this year, and we sold somewhere around 850 houses or so, something like 830. And so so that's a big growth in a short amount of time. And so there was years that we were doubling in size. And so one of the things is process and procedure. And early on, we had a process and procedure for going to the bathroom, for example. No, there was a process and procedure for everything. But we had to go to the far extreme on process and procedures to get to where we could pull back on some of the stuff, just saying that's stupid, get rid of it, so on and so forth. But and so we really just had to break down everything that we were doing and have a process and procedure. So we would have two people would be in charge of something, and then nothing would get done. And so it really, my COO, Travis, was a big implementer of this. He's a great dude, but he is detail oriented. And so he came in, and that's basically what he was working on, was breaking down what's your job duty, and then he's looking like, who does this in between? Oh, that's why the ball's getting dropped, because you think this person's doing it and that person's doing it. And so he, breaking down job descriptions and seeing what people actually do and what they should be doing and what they could be doing and so on and so forth. And so really early on was building, like we have manuals of process and procedures.
Wow. And that's and that's something that just was you just realized was a necessity, or are you a type of person that you in your personal life are you a process driven person, or is that something you had to develop?
I like order. I like clean and neat. I like organized. I like process and procedures, just not for myself.
Okay.
And so...
so you don't brush your teeth in a certain order?
Well, I brush them too long. I just keep brushing.
At least according to the dentist, right?
Yeah.
So what's on the horizon? I mean, now it's 2023 at the time of this recording. What are you looking forward to?
Well, one of the biggest things that's going on right now is we brought out this new Blue Series product. And so over the years, we were so proudly overbuilt, so we were putting in all these additional features. When we pulled some of them out, we didn't save any money. And so with the interest rates doubling and affordability becoming such a huge issue for customers, we forced ourselves into making an affordable product. And so we brought out a new series from 1,200 square feet to 2,000 square feet at great price points for people. During the pandemic, we didn't have houses under 300,000. I think we were around 310 starting point. Now we have houses from this Blue Series goes from 240,000 to like 330,000. And so the bigger it gets, the more discount that we can, or the less per foot it is for the customers. Mm-hmm. And they're value engineered. So unlike our other stuff, there's not a lot of choices you can make to it. But it's going to give people the opportunity for home ownership.
True. Yeah. And a brand new home.
Right.
At that. Yeah. Sure.
And so we designed it.
Does that mean if you talk to any builder off the street, and even the federal government is saying, the thing is you want to build as high per square foot on the lot. That's the argument from the builders is saying, well, I can't build an affordable home because I got to make the money off the lot. I've got to build as much as I can there. How are you overcoming that?
Well, so when we started off, these houses that you see here, they're not value engineered. These are made for what customers are going to flow through and no cost put into it, if that makes sense. These new plans.
These are beautiful. Yeah. Dream homes, if you will. This is something somebody would look forward to and probably could spend the rest of their life in. Yeah,
and we're not abandoning that, but we're just bringing more options on for an affordable. Sure. They still have our storm shelters. They're still energy efficient. Mm-hmm. They still have sprinkler systems, mm-hmm. and they still have a lot of amenities. And so when we're with our competitors that are building down in those sizes, we're still going to be proudly overbuilt mm-hmm. Compared to the other features that our competitors have. It's not going to have all the features that our other product does, because we're going straight after cost for the buyer.
Gotcha.
And so we start off with a 3-bedroom, 2-car garage, and we go up to a 4-bedroom, a study, and a bonus room. And so at 2,000 square feet at 330,000. And so what we're doing, we tried to say, what does a buyer want? And we all right, well, 3-bedroom, and then we got a 4-bedroom. We got a 4-bedroom and a study. Then we got a 3-bedroom and a bonus room. We got a 4-bedroom and a bonus room, and a 4-bedroom and a office with the bonus room. And so we just tried to take what our buyers are buying on the other side, shrink it down, and get it as affordable as possible. And so the rooms are made for the studs and the carpet cuts and all that kind of stuff to maximize all that stuff. And so and sprinkling that in to different neighborhoods is my excitement, because we've never had that product line. We've never had that affordable product line. One of the things, at times, we have buyers, or we have people that don't buy our homes, but they wish they could afford it. We have people looking at these bigger homes that ours are so much more value than some of the other people, but they want that $1 million house, even though our house has all the same features and stuff. And so we have people on both spectrums of it, but we never had this affordable price point.
What makes you different in that category now that you're beginning to offer that? How do you compare to some of the others that may offer entry-level new builds?
Well, one of the things that we do is we have a dare to compare sheet, and it shows all the different things that shows all our amenities. And some of our best sales points are, here's our stuff, and our salespeople are trained to explain all of our stuff. And then we go shop somebody else and use this sheet and compare. And we have values of what we have, and we know what our competitors have, but we don't put the competitors on the sheet, but they can go out there and they can check off, and then it shows them the value that they're getting at the end of it.
Now, how many companies will do that? Literally, hand you a check sheet. From what I heard you just say, hand you a check sheet, hand the customer and say, now go compare with our competitors, and you'll see for yourself.
And you'll come back. And like I said, them shopping other builders can be, and we have it for our other series as well, but shopping other builders.
Incredible. For
sure. And so, like I said, I mean, these houses still have the tankless hot water tanks. Like, last year,
that's a high-end option. I mean,
for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So last year we were 5th in the nation on energy efficiency.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. I want to talk about that because that's almost, when we talk about payments, that's what I try to remind some of our clients is like, if you can get an energy efficient home, you could save hundreds of dollars a month, literally, compared to a single pane window, crawl space home, some of these, pre-built from 1950 or 40. So what are the average utilities running for some of your customers in these blue chip home?
Blue series is what we're calling it.
Series. So yeah, what are some average utility costs?
Well, we hadn't had anybody move in yet because we haven't finished one yet, but we're about to have some people move in.
This is the latest and greatest.
But nice. Our houses, it just depends. It's hard to say what their utilities are going to be because I don't want to lie because I don't know what you set your heat and air at. Sure. I can just tell you that our houses are the most energy efficient speculative homes or being built on the market here in Oklahoma City. Like I said, we're number 1 in Oklahoma for multiple years, number 5 in the nation last year, number 3 the year before. And so you're going to save a significant amount of utilities based upon the stuff that we do.
Excellent. And that's the backdoor savings that can make the difference in being able to put money away for savings, being able to get maybe that nicer car. That's stuff that people don't really account for up front, but is a big deal later.
Energy efficiency of a home is just like gas mileage of a car. And so the better your HERS rating score, the more money you're going to save on your utility bills. But one of the things that the Appraisal Association was looking into, and I hope they do it, is the HERS rating of the house. Like, so when people buy a house, you were talking about a 1950s home, it's going to be less energy efficient than a 1980s, and you can keep going on and on. But people, I feel, need to know how energy efficient that house is to know if you can afford the utility bills that go with it. And so the appraisal department was looking at doing that. I haven't heard anything in a while, but I was extremely excited about that because we HERS rate every one of our houses.
What is the average utility cost of these homes?
Well, I don't know the exact cost, but we have numbers run through ResNet that shows us that we're saving on average about $1,500 a year. So a little bit over $100 a month that people are saving.
Wow. That's incredible, especially with some of the winters we've been having around here. I mean, it can be
we've had some brutal weather, of course. That's Oklahoma.
Walk me through what buyers are looking for in this area. What have you found that's most common for someone in Oklahoma that may be looking at new construction? What are they looking for now?
Well, I think you still have people that are moving from out of state, and they can afford, like, Oklahoma City is one of the cheapest markets in the country, and so they can still afford the other homes. A lot of times it's the people that are family has grown inside Oklahoma City is where they're going to have to change their buying needs, is what I feel. So people moving in from out of state, not as big of a deal, but it's our people inside of Oklahoma City that get married or have kids or whatever it might be that with inflation that's out there, they're having to change the consumer need of to what they can afford. And so, I could build these houses all day long, but if people can't afford them, even if you want it and you can't afford it, you're not going to be able to buy it. And that's why we had to bring this new series on to be able to go after maybe not the people's wants, but what they can afford.
Thanks for coming on the show today. It's been such an honor to talk with you. You've really imparted the personality, I think, behind the brand. That's really the key. I see, when I've seen you here today, I see an individual that didn't quite know how to do it, but he had the heart right, and you just kept trying until you made it happen, and you've done a great job doing it.
Well, it was fun being here today. It was fun reminiscing on the past and the struggles that we went through, and we own up to the mistakes that we have, and I'm not bashful about it. And but yeah, it was good. It was good thinking back